the top, you can check. Live is there.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, but I am
Okay.
today I am very sick, so I can't open the camera because I am not good. But
All right. It's okay.
okay.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Sorry.
Good morning. Good after. I'm starting. Sorry. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening to all our viewers across the globe. Good morning. Good afternoon, and good evening to all our esteemed speakers who are here today on our CPD, where we are going to discuss about a leadership development program for school leaders. As you know, that a leader is an important person in an organization. As I say, true leadership is servanthood. Leadership is like gardening, where you nurture, if you nurture others and cultivate seeds, and you see people blossom and grow, then you know that you are a leader. As a leader, there are principles. There are principles that you need to follow. And as a leader, you do not exist as an island. Good leaders have got different characters. And when you are talking about leadership, we know that good characters build strong trust. And as a leader, you should know that character makes you bigger, especially in the inside than in the outside. Just like when you're squeezing a toothpaste, what comes out is what is inside. So, as leaders, let's believe the inner man through reading. People believe that actions are better than words, and as leaders, we need to grow. We need to influence. We need to nurture, and we as John Maxwell says that leadership is influence. As a leader in an organization, there are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself: that what are you influencing? Whom are you influencing? How are you influencing? So today we have got great speakers who are going to talk to us about leadership in a school, a leadership development programs that we can do as school leaders. Today, our first speaker is going to be Dr. Iman. Dr. Iman is a lecturer of botany and microbiology in the Department of Faculty of Science from Al Azhar University, Cairo, Egypt. Dr. Alam is a dedicated lecturer and a highly skilled researcher and trainer. She has trained various science-related subjects at undergraduate, postgraduate, doctoral, and postdoctoral level, with a special interest in phytochemistry, plant physiology. And currently, Dr. Alam is working on several plant extracts which have proved significant effects and promising results in the treatment of colon and prostate cancer, and as an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antipyretic, diuretic, hypertopoprotective. And she has got MSc and PhD thesis in plant physiology, production and improvement of secondary metabolites from wild medicinal plants. Additionally, Dr. Alam has submitted 16 patents related to new drugs extracted from plants and novel methods for the determination of flavonoids, anthraquinones, and tannins in plant extracts. Also, she has 45 books in the area of medicinal plants and in the improvement of research skills of youth researchers and students. In addition to this, she has also 36 internationally published scientific papers in this area of science. We are talking of a great woman. Dr. Alam is an enthusiastic, self-motivated, reliable, responsible, and hardworking person. Also, she is a mature team worker, and she's adaptable to all challenging situations, able to work well both in a team environment as well as using her own initiative. She's able to work well under pressure and adhere to strict deadlines. She reviewed many international scientific books and scientific original articles, more than 250, for many international scientific publishers. She is the president of hundreds of international scientific meetings and participated as a keynote speaker, resource person, organizer, moderator, and chairperson in nearly about 1,500 international scientific meetings, and engaged in many international training programs as an organizer and an instructor in a collaborative work with many international scientific and training organizations in many countries. In terms of her education, she has got a postdoctoral fellowship on the topic of elimination of some tropical diseases in Nigeria and other countries. She has a PhD, plant physiology, botany, and microbiology. She has an MSc, Masters in Science in Plant Ecology, Botany, and Microbiology, and then a BSc First Class Honors Excellent with honors degree in Microbiology Department. Dr. Iman has been she's a student at the second level in the Cairo University, blending learning Faculty of Arts, Department of Psychology, and then also MSc Studies in Intellectual Property and Innovative Management. We are talking about someone who is educated. She's a great woman. She has perseverance. She's patient. So we are going to hear Dr. Iman sharing with us, as a school leader, the leadership development programs that she's going to deliberate with us. Over to you, Dr. Iman. But before you speak, let me recognize IDYM group of companies, the IDYM technical team, Ravi Shankar Se, for the opportunity to avail this program, this platform, to many viewers and many speakers and many educationists who are here today. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Iman.
Hello, my dear sister. Thanks for the great introduction. Really, you talked about me too much. I think no need for the lecture. Thank you very much. Really,
okay.
you said a lot about me. This is because of your thoughtfulness. Thanks. I'm very happy to be today with you as a moderator. As you know, I love you too much and I appreciate you. I am very grateful and thankful to IDYM because the Dr. Ravi and Miss Donnell asked me are doing a lot for others. Really, they are supporting the students and educators. And thank you for all members of IDYM behind the camera because they are collaborating each other in achieving the goal and distributing the science. And now we need to talk about leadership in education. We need to correlate it with schools. Countries increasingly use of a range of approaches for the evaluation and assessment of students, teachers, school leaders, schools, and educational systems. These are used as a tool for understanding better how well students are learning, for providing information to parents and also to the society at a large scale about educational performance, and for also improving the school and school leadership and teaching practices. The last 15 previous a remarkably constant and improvement worldwide efforts by educational policy makers. They are working to reform schools by holding them more publicly for improving student performance and also educator performance, and to create a leader of the future. So for school leaders and for those who study what they do, the main consequence of this policy shifted to considerable pressure to demonstrate the contribution that their work makes to such improvement. The pressure hasn't actually emerged from a widespread of value of leadership, quite the opposite. Indeed, it would be more accurate to characterize this as a demand to prove the widely held assumption that leadership matters a great deal. However, the empirical evidence in support this assumption, while reasonably robust now, have been slow to accumulate. Regarding, for example, India, if we need to highlight, for example, India, in India, there are many trials to improve leaderships in education. A well-known example is NEP. NEP is new policy in education, new education policy. I'm so sorry. Regarding India, for example, we have new educational policy. It established 2 years ago to improve the leadership in schools and in education generally. So, to improve leadership in education, we need to focus on programs. These programs must be full of motivation, full of appreciation of how to simplify the scientific knowledge, how to distribute it in a very easy manner, how to focus on inquiry-based science education, how to focus on how to increase self-confidence of the students. Students must fall with self-confidence. We are not trying to educate them to break them. No, we need to improve them psychologically and also at the educational level and their knowledge, scientific knowledge levels, and so on. We need to highlight that no development can be done without leaders. So no leadership achievements without leaders. So managers, as I said before, are different from leaders. Being a manager of a school or a manager of your place at all, it means that you can manage many things, but can't lead others towards the success. So leaders and managers are not the same, they are very different. So regarding schools, leaderships in education must be done by creating many educational programs full of motivation and full of appreciation of knowledge, and also it must be done online, not offline. We need to focus on online-minded people, online-minded leaders, and also we need to choose the qualified people to be in the place. Instead of choosing managers, we need to choose leaders. We have many leadership developmental programs for school leaders. We can achieve many goals by focusing on how to do self-improvement, how to do also professional improvement, how to do many training programs for them, also how to encourage the leadership itself, how to encourage youth to be managers of school and leaders of school, because the soul of youth is very great. Being a youth and also um, having some experience to lead, it means that you are talking about a leadership person. A leadership is very important in the case of a school, and very important in the case of universities. Condition for successful school leaderships, thus, although it is acknowledged that measurable outcomes such as student progress and achievement are key indicators of effectiveness, they are insufficient to ensure success. In order to achieve the latter, schools, sorry, I need to close WhatsApp. Yes.
Okay.
Condition for successful school leadership, thus although it is acknowledged that measurable outcomes such as student progress and achievement are key indicators of effectiveness, they are insufficient to ensure success. In order to achieve the leader is what? The leader is what? Is effectiveness, is the effectiveness of successful school leadership. In order to achieve this goal, schools must strive to educate their students by promoting positive values, integrity, compassion, and fairness, love of lifelong learning. It's very important. Love of life, long learning is very important. Again, love of life, long learning is very important. Fostering citizenship and personal and economic social capability. For successful leadership, these social outcomes are likely to be deemed as important as promoting students' academic outcomes. Indeed, the concept of student well-being receiving increasing many attentions in many countries. We need to increase the knowledge and understanding of school leadership and relationship with school improvement and student outcomes. It will examine definitions, concepts, and models of leaderships, and examine also the outcomes of recent research on successful leadership of effective and improving school. Much of the research school leaderships has focused on the role of the principal and head teacher, but it is increasingly recognized that the distribution of school leadership more widely within schools is very important. Not only you need to focus on the principal or vice principal and so on, you need to focus on all your teachers you have as a teamwork. You need to distribute the leadership. You need to stick to the concept of transformational leadership. We need to focus on leading concerns like vision, strategic issues, transformation, ends, people. I think people must be number one. Doing the right thing. Leader must do the right things. Must, but not all over the time because I am leader, so I am right. No. If I am leader, I need to lead my group to do all right things. But it doesn't mean that I am correct all over the time. What about managing the concerns, implementation, operational issues? transactions, means, and systems. What about doing things right? A more detailed delineation of characteristics which are identified as important in relation to in leaderships in some countries build on many things like providing vision, developing uh, common purpose, facilitating the achievement of educational and organizational goal. The organization must have a goal. Without a goal, what can we achieve anything? We need to have a goal before achieving it. We need to detect our goals to be leaders. Being a response, res- uh, being responsive on diverse needs and situations. Um, Something like many critical issues and many problems. You need to lead all situations. You need to handle all bad issues. You need to eradicate any problems. This is a leader. A leader must have smart thinking, having a future orientation, providing educational internship, liking resources to outcomes, supporting the school as a lively educational place. It's very important. Lifelong education and lifelong learning. We need to support the school as a lively educational place. Not only a school as a school. No, we need to transfer it to be lively educational place. We need a health environment and a health media for our students. Working creatively, it's very important. We need for creativity. We need for creative thinking instead of official thinking. We are in a real need for empowerment. Leader must empower others. As I said before, all people inside our school must be leaders, not only the principal or vice principal, ensuring that the processes and the content of the curriculum are relevant. It must be clear. It must be very simple, but add the knowledge to the life of the student. The important characteristics of management include many things like ensuring that management practices reflect leadership actions. So it's not by talk, it's by practice. Carrying out restructuring so that the school organization is more effective and efficient. Collaboratively designing and carrying out strategic planning. We need to have a strategic plan and we need to have a goal. We need to try to achieve our goals. Meeting all needed requirements. We need to arrange the priorities, getting things done, making sure that the organization is running smoothly, full with happiness and love and kindness and all great values in our life. Working effectively with the people. It's a sort of teamwork. I need to refer to an example of the sort of teamwork which is done online between us during the education day, the teacher day. I'm so sorry. During the teacher day, all of us wanted to take the responsibility to moderate. This is a teamwork to try to afford, to try to take the responsibility, providing effective financial management. Without financial support, many things can't be done. Marketing and promoting the school. They can combine into a set of four linked skill areas. We have influencing skills, including motivating people, negotiation, public speaking, and entrepreneurship. Learning skills like rapid learning, Fast reading also, maybe thinking skills, information processing and anticipation, facilitating skills like listening, recognizing potential, team building, building alliance, creative skills like empowering and aligning. We have many examples of the definition of the role of a school leader in different countries. The role of this leader particularly received attention, and also its attention is increased and focusing on it by increasing many things like training, qualification and professional development for school leaders with a national qualification framework. We need to have a role. We need to have a ruler to estimate. We need to have standards to stick to this standard. More recently, the links between leaderships and teaching have been lightened with the amalgamation of the teaching agency and the national college in different countries. There are many organizations. For example, the newly formed National College of Teaching in England. In England, there is the newly formed National College for Teaching and Leadership. It's very important to initiate organizations to empower leaders and to improve the leadership within the leaders, because the efficiency may be decreased within the time. So we need to enhance their performance. We need to improve them and to improve their performance and to develop their work. When we want to shape the future, we need to create a shared vision and strategic plan for the school in collaboration with governing body that motivates staff and others in the community. So schools must be supported by the government, must be encouraged by the government. It's a very important, one of the most important organizations. Because, for example, in academic, we are teaching already adults. In academics, we are teaching and learning adults. But in the life of the school, we are dealing with kids. So we need to be careful. Leading learning and teaching. My voice is clear?
Yes, it's clear, very clear, my dear.
Thank you, my dear sister.
It's
So
okay.
can I continue or time is over,
Yes.
please?
No, you can continue. It's okay. Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
We can
Don't
continue.
like to keep the time.
Yeah,
So
no,
we
we are still waiting for Frederick.
Thank you, my dear sister. To shape the future, we need to focus on many things like leading, learning, and teaching. And we need to focus on head teachers. How can they take the responsibility for raising the quality of teaching and learning for students' achievement? This implies setting high expectation and monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of learning outcomes. A successful learning culture media will enable students to become effective, to become more independent learners. Yesterday, we talked about self-learning, holistic education. It's very important to empower our students to know what is self-learning, what is independent learning, How can we be independent learner? How can we focus on how to make lifelong learning to be committed? Developing the self and working with others, teamwork, building effective relationships, and building professional learning community through performance management and effective professional development for all the staff members. Managing the organization. I need to say it's not only managing, it's leading. It's leading. It will not it will not done by the manager. It will be done by the leader. We need leaders. We are not in a need for manager because each leader can be manager, but not all managers can be leaders. Improving organizational structures is very important. We can do it through self-evaluation. We need to evaluate our performance. We need to evaluate our performance inside the organization. And we need to manage people and resources in order to build capacities across the workforce and deploy cost-effective resources. We need to focus also on securing accountability. Head teachers are accountable to students, parents, careers, governors, and local authority, and the whole community to provide high quality of education for promoting a collective responsibility within the whole school community for contributing to the educational services more widely. Education must serve the community. We can't isolate education from the community. It's a collective responsibility. Parents are educators. Also, parents are the first educators. So we need to focus on whole community responsibility, collective responsibility, strengthening the community, creating links and collaborating with other schools, parents, careers, and other agencies to share expertise and to ensure children's well-being. What is the challenges facing school leaders? Challenges including many things, many items like ensuring consistently good teaching and learning, integrating a sound grasp of basic knowledge and skills within a broad and balanced curriculum. We need to perform broad and balanced curriculum, not too hard, not too hard, not too simple. We need to do a very balanced curriculum. I'm so sorry, but
Okay, it's okay.
I'm so sorry. There is some interruption because I am not in my home. I was admitted in the hospital, so I am not good.
Okay,
The
all right.
challenges, so sorry. The challenges facing the school leaders, this include ensuring consistently good teaching and learning, integrating a sound grasp of basic knowledge and skill within a broad and balanced curriculum. We need to do broad and balanced curriculum. Managing behavior and attendance. We need to focus on attendance by soul because some students are attending by body. Did you agree with me, my dear sister, that some students are attending only in some lectures and in some classrooms, and so on, only by body?
Yes, I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that aspect, my dear.
So we need to empower our students to attend also by soul. We need to be attractive. We need to have strategically managing resources and the environment. We need to have a good environment for education. We need to focus on society problems. We need to make it very simple. I know one colleague, she is Indian. She is my dear sister, Dr. Angeshtaram. One day she asked me to prepare something like a curriculum for celebrating the Environmental Day. I tried to prepare it in a simple way, using some of my papers related to how to use plant wastes to produce nematicidal agent. So students can know that, for example, banana peels is not a waste. We can do good things using white biotechnology using banana peel. We can, for example, produce nematicidal agents. We need to empower our students to know how can they use, for example, some botanical wastes for the purification of water. Some people may say that botanical waste is not safe. It will be not safe if you will ignore it. But banana peel, for example, is a part of the banana fruit. So it's not a waste. We need to recycle many things instead of creating a waste. I'm so sorry, but many interruptions today. So we need to encourage our yes, my dear sister, thank you. I'm not good today, but I don't like to leave the lecture because I'm in love with IDYM. Today I was admitted in the hospital because of COVID, so I'm not good. Strategically managing resources and
sorry.
Alhamdulillah, everything coming from Allah is good. Strategically managing resources and the environment, building the school as professional learning community, and developing partnership beyond the school to encourage parental support. It's very important that parents need, that principals and educators needs also the support of parents. It's an equation, has two sides. Parent support and the principal support. So we need this, for example, inside academic or school institutes, we need the support from parents for learning and the new learning opportunities. Sister, time is okay? Or?
Hello, are you are saying time?
Sorry?
Are you done?
Can I finish now?
Yes, you can finish. It's all right.
Okay. To conclude, we need to highlight many leadership programs inside our schools and inside many institutes related to educational processes. Also, for example, in India, as I referred, we have new educational policies. These new educational policies established 2 years ago, and it's still working to create a healthy educational environment and healthy media for education. So we need motivation. We need support from the society, from the community, from parents. We need to encourage students themselves to be self-learner. Thank you. We need also motivation. Thanks for our lovely moderator for motivating me, and thank you for encouraging me to do this lecture. Thanks a lot. However, I am still not good. I am very sick, but I am very happy to be with you today. Thanks a lot. And if there is any question, please, I'll be ready. If you wanted to go to the next lecture, it's okay, as you like. You are the moderator. You will do what you want.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Iman. We
Welcome,
wish
my
you
lovely.
speedy
Most of-
recovery. Yes, sickness didn't stop
Amen.
you to be with
Amen.
us today. For you to
I can't
share.
stop. This can do. Only this can do.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for elaborating the different educational programs that we're talking about, giving examples of India, and then where you said development without leaders. Yes, in our organizations, we need leaders so that they can steer their ship. They can steer they are the captains of the ship. And then you also elaborated about the difference between managers and leaders. And then leaders they are very important in an organization and for a school to run successfully, to run effectively. It needs someone, a leader who is visionary, a leader who knows the mission and the vision of each and every school has got a mission statement, visions and missions for the school. You talked about the concept of transformational leadership, whereby we are looking at leaders with a vision, leaders who are strategic and leading the people in your organization to do the right things. And then each and every organization has got goals that need to be accomplished. And with the right leader, and those goals can be accomplished with a leader who is a team player, who can work with the people in the organization to accomplish goals. You also talked about leaders who promote lifelong learning, leaders who are creative, who promote creativity in a school, and you talked about leaders being empowers, because as leaders, we should share our knowledge, we should share our experience and influence. Normally, what I've seen in our communities and our culture, we think that if we share our knowledge, someone can overtake or take my job. So we have to unleash those leaders within each and every person. As a leader, I think you should know your knowledgeable skills, believe in them, and acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses of people in the organization. A good leader for a good leader, empowerment means seeing the potential of others, saying the words that encourage and equip others, sharing your knowledge, sharing your experience, and showing to others that you believe in them. So you should have those leadership development programs like you were talking about. We need leadership development programs where we nurture leaders in our schools that we are in. We have some people like heads of department in your organization. How do you organize their development programs? We have prefects in our organizations, in our schools. How do we nurture them? So we should have those leadership development programs that empower others, that also nurture other leaders in an organization. You can also agree with me that school leadership has an impact in all areas of education, being it teacher motivation, being it learning environment, and rightly, like you said, the leadership, the relationship a leader has with other people in the organization. I just wanted to find out from you this notion which says, is it doing the right thing, or do we say they should do things right? Doing right things or doing the things right. As a leader, what do you advocate for? And then in our schools, how do we develop leaders in our schools? Maybe you can answer that one before I call upon our next speaker, who is Frederick Abbott. My sister,
Hello,
are
my
you
dear
there?
sister. Yes, I am still there. I wanted to say that, for example, leader must move towards doing all right things and directing the team, to do all right things. But some people thought that they are correct all over the time. This is not required. To be a leader, you need to listen, you need to motivate, you need to, if you will give me less than 1 minute, I'll declare the point, but by focusing on some model of leadership. For example, we need to have the transformational leadership model. Transformational leadership model. We need to build a vision and setting directions. We need to ask all the team to move to achieve our goals, to collaborate, to create new goals. This is the improvement. During a time, we need to change the goals. Time must change everything, so we need to change our goals. We need to be modified to be better, to be a better copy of ourselves. This is what I meant. As a leader, don't see yourself as a correct forever, but you need to do correct things. You need to motivate others in your team to do all correct things and all right things. It will be done, my dear sister, by love, by encouragement, by motivation, by have a plan, not by managing. As I said, manager is not a leader. Manager is not a leader, but leader is a manager. This is what I meant with. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, we need to motivate them. And then we need to also be good role models for them. Okay, show the example. Yeah, do as you want them to do. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Iman, for that insightful session. Then now, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Frederick Abbott. Are you there? I don't see Frederick Abbott. Are you there? Before I start introducing you. Is Frederick Abbott there?
Yes, my dear sister, I think he is here, but I think there is a problem in his mic because he looks like he is talking, but no voice. My dear brother, you need to check your mic, please. Can you hear us?
Check your mic, Frederick. We can't hear you. Yes, I can see you on screen. You are there, but I can't hear you. All right.
His account is iPhone. He came from an account called iPhone.
Okay, whilst he's sorting it out, let me introduce him. Frederick Abbott Ashu. Frederick Abbott Ashu has... Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much. Let me just introduce you shortly, quickly. Frederick Abbott Ashu has been teaching educational administration and educational leadership at the Department of Educational Foundations and Administration Faculty of Education, University of Bua, for 7 years as a way of training and preparing young undergraduate and postgraduate students for the improvement of the human condition through better knowledge, health living conditions, social equity, and productivity. He has been involved in several efforts and aimed at developing strategies, building skills and competencies for preparing the students of today in the acquisition of top skills needed by the school leaders for employability. I know that we have the topic today on school leadership, as we have been involved. He has also been involved in subsequent programs for the department and the initiation and creation of a new postgraduate diploma in educational leadership and a doctorate of education. And doctorate of education will enable the government to deliver some of its important educational reforms. Dr. Abbott, he has published widely with a focus, among others, on leadership development of school leaders, 10 books, two book chapters, 20 articles in referred journals, and supervised 2 successful PhDs and 11 master's theses. He's a fellow at the Commonwealth Professional Fellowship and the founding president of the Cameroon Council for Educational Leadership and Management Society. He has a profile that says it all. I can't read it all because of our time, but let's hear from Frederick Abbott from Cameroon. As you heard, that his special area is educational administration and educational leadership, of which goes hand in hand with what we are discussing today. Over to you, Frederick Abbott. Ashu. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, now it's okay. No, nothing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, clear.
Huh?
Yes, it's
Are you
clear.
hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. As I said, my name is Frederick Abbott Ashu. I'm a lecturer at the Department of Educational Foundation and Administration at the University of Boya. I'm here today to talk about leadership development of school leaders. It's a topic that I have a lot of passion, and it also marked the International Day for the Protection of Education from Attack. I sincerely believe that school leaders in every school in the world must be trained. It's not right to have school leaders who are not trained, because if they are trained, they will be able to meet up the success of the school. But if school leaders are not trained, they will be unable to handle the difficulties in every learning institution. So I will start by introducing some of the topics which I'm going to discuss today. I've already introduced myself. I will talk about the key aspects. Those are the key aspects of changing leadership in an organization. I will talk about leadership development models and their effectiveness. I will go to talk about leadership and management learning theories, leadership development trends, and also leadership development programs for school leaders. Then I will talk about some professional standards which educational systems, schools, and school leaders can use for their own professional development. Good. Let's try to see the key aspect of changing leadership in any organization. Why do schools or educational systems need to train their teachers or their principals? The first thing is for individual bonding. So personal development needs. Every school teacher or every head teachers, needs to get involved in meetings and in conditions or self-improve, feel supported by the educational system and listened to by the peers and colleagues. So that aspect of bonding between the head teacher, I would say the principal, and the teacher and the student, it's so important. Then we'll talk about the organization. So creating a functional team. So any learning institution is made up of teams. Teams of head teachers or principals and the middle managers and the teachers and the students, you see. So all of them needs to be appreciated and valued for their level of leadership and expertise in managing the curriculum and the pedagogic and the management of the learning institutions. So I strongly feel that So there is a need, for to include in decision making, not only at the top level, but also at the middle level, and also the teachers and the students. So all these things needs to be effective in order to assess performance and have to produce concrete reports to send to the minister involved in education. We also have the community. The community is an important aspect of school management. So for any aspect, for any successful school, there must be a link between the school and the community. So the coordination between school, the community, and the educational system. So they need to develop skills and partnership and the collaboration activities in educational leadership to manage the conflicts as it arise in the political awareness of influence of the educational practice. So we can see a very strong link why it is important. Not only the principal are being trained, but the community, the members of the community are being encouraged to become active members of the learning community. We also talk about the system adaptation. Adaptation, which is the educational system, the top management, and where you have the ministers or the bureau concerning education of any learning institution in the world. So these people need to be consulted and included in broader policy-making decisions pertaining to the educational development and practice. Okay, good. So we actually understand why it is important for school leadership development. So we now talk about the leadership development models. What type of models are being used in schools to train school leaders? We talk about the on-the-job training. Most people come to the job as teachers. They get their experience and they train and they become head teachers, especially in areas where there are no formal head teachers training. So on-the-job training is that training where you come in, maybe say as a secondary teacher, a math teacher or a science teacher. You don't even have administrative experience or leadership experience or say management experience. Then you work in collaboration with the middle manager and the principal, and you develop those skills to become a leader. So on-the-job training is common, very practiced in most countries. You also have the 360-degree feedback method. So many schools and educational systems have introduced the 360-degree feedback. It's a process of accomplishing educational objectives and enhancing both the teacher and the aspiring head performance to become successful principals or head teacher. So the feedback procedure involves just gathering perceptions and opinions, not only from the middle manager or maybe the principals. You also gather from the student about expertise that influence behavior. We all understand that the idea of any learning institution is to change behavior of the people, of the teachers. So when this information are being gathered, it gives access to support the behaviors from the person line, from the manager, performance review, follow team members and colleagues, and external stakeholders which are involved in the community. We also have in-service training. In-service training, it's similarly to on-the-job training. So in-service training is always a powerful source of leadership development. So most common method is in-service training program makes use of more knowledgeable and skilled leaders to train the less skilled one. So a principal might train his middle managers or maybe train some teachers who have interest of becoming school leaders. So we're now going to try to look at the leadership and management learning theories, how they've evolved. So the first one, those are contemporary models of management of education. So in the past years, we've seen the academic liberalism, which is axiom of management education should be primarily concerned with the pursuit of knowledge about management. So it's very common in most society today about the management, relative scientific and rational manager to create management scientists. So the idea of being a principal or a head teacher, you need to be a management scientist capable to analyze the application of theoretical principles. You see, so this type of method they use, the type of teaching methods they use was like seminars and case studies and experimentation, which I believe is well practiced in every country like Cameroon, India, America. You also have the experimental liberalism. Experimental liberalism shares many of the same assumptions of academic liberalism, but argues for more practical approach. So people say the practical approach grounded in managerial experience and not rather than theory. So it has been criticized. Countries like France are very, very more theoretical. That's the French system of education as compared to the English system, which is very practical. So, or maybe India too, since their educational system was developed from the British, so they're also a practical community. So experimental liberalism is an important aspect. So it creates reflection of practitioners equipped with appropriate practical skills and knowledge and the ability to adapt to and to learn from situation. So most of the teaching methods are used in the experimental liberalism that consists of group work and actually action learning and self-development. So self-development is relating to developing a portfolio. So you go to a workplace and you develop a portfolio. You learn through being observing a principal or head teacher, and you develop the skills to become a successful principal or head teacher. So you also have the experimental vocationalism. It's similarly to the experimental. The vocational means you need to hands-on technical competence in any learning institution or in any organization where you choose as a profession. I mean, all these systems can be used in any industry. It's not only in the educational. I'm focusing on the education because I'm a teacher, and most of my writings concerning leadership is to support the development of principle and leadership. In modern years, we've seen the rise of vocational learning experience in both developed and developed countries. Because there are people who prefer to have hands-on activities, to be more practical. And it's quite believed that people learn more, following this experimental vocationalism as compared to the other system. So we talk about the other one, which is experimental critical. So this is modern. This is what is used in most civilized society, or maybe some developed countries who have been running leadership development programs for many years, like America or maybe Great Britain. So these people seek to emancipate managers and the employees in the organization for an operational alienation. So, I mean, people always feel that experimental liberalism, say people need to be liberated, if people want to do leadership development, it's not adapting programs from different culture, but they have to follow their own system, their own ways of understanding leadership in their own context. And some of the most common teaching methods which are used is incorporate critical action learning and critical reflection. And this critical reflection boils down to their own values, their own ways of thinking, analyzing their own problems and developing their leaders to be able to handle the situation of their own context. So we're talking about the leadership development trends, how it has evolved. So we look at now from the program. So in the past, it used to be more prescribed courses, and standard and theoretical. Then it has moved now to study programs and real issues, customized theory and context. So the time frame is one-off on events and a journey which is ongoing and support. So the mode there is lecturing and listening and conceptual. So participatory, interactive, applied, experimental, and conceptual ideas are being used to support the development of teachers. And most of this training sometimes is focused on individuals within groups, or maybe in a community or in a region or in a division, as in Cameroon. And in most situations, it's done by consultants and partner or designer facilitator would coach the support of leadership development in any learning institutions or organizations. So I would drop now to the leadership development programs. There are quite a few, but I think you bear patience with me to understand some of them. It's so important. So one of the first things we think in the 21st century, what school leaders or principal or what a leader must have, the type of skills they need. So our today leaders must have essential ICT management skills for school leaders. They should be able to use a lot of softwares like Word, Excel, PowerPoints, to prepare seminars and presentations, use Word and Excel to prepare reports, and so on. So use the internet, all these social media softwares, because the world now is moving quite evolved. I quite remember in the COVID time, we were obliged, to use Google Classroom to enhance teaching and learning, not only supporting the students, but with the community and the internet. So that it is so important as a leader, you must have ICT management skills. So that is the first one. I will jump now to the second one. The second course, which I strongly believe leaders must have, say organizational effectiveness and improvement and transformation. The idea of a learning institution is creating high quality leads with thought of leadership. So you must improve the performance of your teachers and the students, and your community must learn about your cultural values, and there must be renovation for new ideas and to make the community and the students achieve very high grades. So this course called Organizational Effectiveness, Improvement, and Transformation. In this module, you will explore current thinking on how organizations are judged as effective and improving. So you will be introduced to the challenges of critique, contemporary research in this area. I say most of the time we focus on drawing the practical implication of these lectures, and will be engaged through data collection, online activities with views of colleagues on how which school is effective, what criteria do they have, what make them to be more effective, or which schools have improved in the past years in the community or in the country or in the region, and other techniques, what have they used to be able to transform. You might go to a school where they have, let me say 30% for results, and soon, because they've worked so hard, achieve a lot of renovation, or maybe improve their attainment to maybe 80%, 90%. So organizational effectiveness of improvement, it must be studied to see why are other schools best? Why are some schools having 100% and some schools are having 20%? Why are some schools going on and why are some other schools not going on, especially in situations like Cameroon? Why are some teachers more productive and other schools are not productive? So this aspect must be debated, must be discussed in order to find resources we can learn from others. So we go now to the next one, which I think is a very important aspect. It's diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. This is a very important topic. But in Cameroon, we properly do it at the PhD level. Even at the master's level, I think it should be encouraged, because at the current stage where we have situations and dynamic problems in some developed countries, I think this type of course will deepen students' experience on the multicultural nature of the African continent, of our tribal issues, of our colonial experience, furthering all this aspect of indigenous pedagogic and advancing our community to diversity and equity, social inequality and social justice in Africa. So we introduce simple by decolonizing our language and our teaching and pedagogies to most socially capture, the elements of diversity, equity, and social justice. I think this course is an important aspect, and if every learning institutions use the idea of diversity, equity, I think it will help limit the tension, the dynamics among people in developing countries. So we go now to the next course, which is the foundation of education. The foundation of education, it helps school leaders to understand their historical past, to understand the philosophical foundations of education in every community. Every society have their own philosophy. Every society have their own history. Every society have their own psychological problems and their sociological foundations. So school leaders must be educated to understand these different aspects. Some of the issues which have the story behind their own philosophy, the stories behind their own history, and some of the sociological aspects. So these things, cultural issues, political issues, the legal and ethical issues, The laws surrounding education must be empowered. So teachers know these type of things, and they should be able to transmit the right knowledge to the learners. We go now to the next one. It's managing educational change. Managing educational change, it's quite a good aspect. As a good leader with leadership experience, so the objectives of the course now is to explore approaches of understanding and manage the organization change process, and to identify practical approach for effective change implementation. So you can't be a leader without managing change. You can't come to a school where you have just, let me say, about 3 blocks of rooms, and you be there for 10 years without even multiplying the number of rooms, or maybe increasing the number of students, or improving the grades. So the course will strive to balance between theory and research on the hand, and the practical management tools and techniques to enable head teachers or principals have the skills to be able to support the development of not just only their teachers, but the learners to become lifelong learners. So the course is considered as a management skill for change implementation, as well as organizational ability to encourage innovation and cope with the change, the dynamic of society. The world today is going through a lot of change. Countries like India and Cameroon, people are being more awakened. They are struggling with identity. They're struggling with poverty. Most of the sustainable element, water, electricity, they actually know that there is a good life. So they need this good life they see where the ministers or maybe the aristocrats are having. So people have become more wiser. So we need to balance our expectation. The ignorant, let me say Indian, we used to know in the past, have acquired more education, or maybe the ignorant Cameroonian. So he's aware that he has his right and his rights to also have a good job, to have a good position, to earn more money. So it brings a lot of violence, which we are experiencing, plus all those environmental issues, climate change. Some of these things needs to be more understood in order for us to be more effective to support the development, or to support this crisis when they do arrive. So we'll see a second integrating theme will concern the organizational attributes that encourage the stifle creativity. Creativity and innovation are key aspects when it comes to change, and how to develop creative organization culture and are receptive to innovation and change. So without change, it makes a leader to be not recognized. But I think as any leader, you must understand managing educational change in order to stand out and to contribute effectively to the society. So another important leadership course, educational leadership course, key core course is middle leaders and deputies. You know, we give opportunity for students to learn about middle leadership. So in middle leadership, this course deepens the knowledge about middle leaders, the impact on school, the improvement of organization development. So sometimes middle leaders, they are in the middle between the principal, or maybe say the head teachers and the teachers. So they move forward and back, sometimes a bit so confused. So any leader must understand the dynamics of the middle leader. So more precisely, it focuses on how middle leaders from nursery, primary, secondary, and university and educational system can translate, improvement strategies and tools from educational system, courses, or leading school improvement. So the most interesting one we say, let me say, like in a university where the chancellor has to have meetings with the minister, and has to transmit knowledge from the minister of higher education coming to the university or to the community. So he becomes now the middle leader. And some of these things are very important. So we need to understand some of the dynamic involved. And sometimes the teachers or maybe the lecturers are expecting more, of which the government can give. So understanding middle leadership, wherever situation you are, I think is an important aspect. So we go now to the next course, which is about research methodology and scientific writing. In this course, I think our students must be encouraged to how to present, their introduction of their thesis, the introduction to write problem statements and objectives and research questions. It's an important area to on writing literature review, which is an important aspect. Review and also presenting their part of the chapter 3. Because a good thesis, it's so important where the first chapter and the second chapter is well organized. It gives you a good way to present your chapter 4 and chapter 5, and for some other institutions who are doing chapter 6. So, so this course teach research students writing all those aspects as I've already said, and the presentation and interpretation of results, it will come, or the discussion especially, will come very easy, after having a good chapter 1, 2, and 3. So I think it's an important course. So we go now to the next one, review, moderation, and processes. This is quite a very complex course. We're trying to look at all the best practice. You're trying to evaluate the curriculum, what the students have learned. The students take a lot of course. So by the time they're doing their practical, students have the ability to check in the industry what the ministries or maybe the schools are actually implementing in place. So moderation is for them to now sit and review all the aspects, what they have learned. So the aim of the course now is to develop knowledge, understanding of critical perspectives based upon evidence drawn from the investigate opportunities for professional learning. When school leaders or teachers work together to moderate their judgment of educational system, the school and the students' work. So it draws together the key things from various research projects of everything that they have learned. For everything that they have learned during the moderation and conversation. So school leaders and teachers are required to report against national standards. So national standards are important aspects. Not every country, especially in developed countries, have developed standards. But I think we are encouraging Cameroon or India or maybe other developed countries to develop their standards. Some African countries like South Africa, I think Botswana, they've actually put in place standards. When you talk about standards, these are the modern ways of supporting leaders. Nations like Britain, Canada, I think they have their standards. So standards or policies, and it's intended to be an effective lever to increase educational teachers or student achievement levels. So as a principal, when you understand the standards of what as a principal or a teacher must have, you can also able to understand the standards, what students must learn in order to achieve an A grade in their learning. So moderation conversations that provide rich professional learning about possible avenue for lifting achievement of schools, teachers, or student outcomes in the classroom will be needed if this policy is to work as intended. So the course is the first step towards understanding how we can best support school leaders and teachers as they do this in an important work of leadership development. So we go now to school resource management. School resource management, this course deepens students' knowledge about the state and the faith and all the educational system, finance policies and practice, emphasizing the level of finance. Some of the things that screw most of our educational systems or maybe schools is poor management of finance. So exploration of the state, of the faith, of the private local revenue source, school budgeting and financial management, procedures, it's an important aspect for every school leader. You can't be a principal or a head teacher or a leader of any institution because your job is to management finance. You can't take the finance of your school to invest in other projects or to do your own private business because at the end of the day, it will bring a lot of problems. So school leaders must understand the ethics involved in managing money and all those type of things. And so the direction of practicing school administrators when investigating issues on state and the private. So that there's quite a lot of dynamics and differences between state school, private schools, and faith schools, you know, they have different ways of managing funds. So all these things must be understood, and plus the tax system involved. So we also go now to another important topic, which is seminars in research methods and methodology in educational leadership. So conducting educational research requires knowledge of scientific process and a variety of research tools and techniques. So what research you do or how you do it and what happens to results depends on the large extent upon social situation and the educational environment of yourself. Don't forget, we are educational leaders, our educational managers or administrators. So our research must focus. So there are many direct influences that relate to your own position as a researcher and the decision making and structure, the way you structure your thesis. So as the progress through a course, the students are encouraged to learn to consider your own personal values and how to examine education on economic, labor, and all the variables that impact the research process of your finding and outcome that you want to give to society. So senior leadership is one of the core courses for educational leadership. So educational leadership, there's senior leadership. So the key objectives of this course is to develop knowledge, understanding, and critical perspectives based upon evidence drawn from research, scholarship, practice, and wider literature about the work, the life, and career perspectives of senior leaders. How can you, Mr. John, develop to become a principal? Then why Moses or maybe Ishmael cannot become a principal? So in this course, it gives opportunity how people becomes leader. So what mechanisms, what are the agents of socializations that have enabled him to become a senior leader? Some people are here today. People will be doubting. Like in Cameroon, we have a head of state who have been there for many years, and people are saying, "How can we have such a person?" So, doing senior leadership, you might understand. So, is it the family background, or maybe the community, or the society? Is it the government enabling somebody to remain a senior leader? Is it maybe the church, or maybe the community, or maybe his experience? So these are some of the aspects we're trying to learn on senior leadership. What are the ingredients? What are the vitamins that are required to become a senior leader? It's one of those interesting courses because all of us as men or women, we strive to be better people in the community. We all want to achieve great heights in our professional development. So this course, you know, it helps and gives directions, and it gives ideas of making choices of who you want to become in the future. And people decide and make choices of how they want to, what strategies to use to become a senior leader in any learning institution. So we talk about strategic management, we all are aware, in educational leadership. So this course is also designed to help participants to develop the best outcomes for their pupils and students as they learn to plan strategically for their prospective schools. Participants in this course will engage in the course, will be introduced to the process of developing a vision and a mission for the school. And the most interesting part, students are taught and learn on how to develop strategic plan, a long-term strategic plan and a global strategic plan. Most of our students, they actually learn how to do a strategic plan for a school, and they're also encouraged to draw a strategic plan for an educational system. So you see there are different ways. For a local school, just need a strategic plans to work within the schools and the ministry and maybe the community. But for an educational system strategic plan, you know, the education, let me say the Ministry of Basic Education, they have to work with different schools. They have to work with different institutions. They have to work with overseas. They have to work with so many organizations. So the strategic plans become very, very different. So I think I've actually giving a view about some of the leadership development programs on which we do in Cameroon. I will conclude by now talking about some leadership standards, of which these standards have actually enabled me as a developer of these programs to understand what is good for school leaders. So the first thing, professional standards which we have and we are using for professional development, especially in my country, Cameroon. It's some ideas which have been taken from around the world. Let me say Canada, Zimbabwe, no, not Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, and Kenya. These are some countries, and Botswana in Africa, which are actually focusing on supporting the development of head teachers and principals. So we strongly feel head teachers and principals must be inspired and engaged to serve, and for them to do that, they must have a strong vision, a mission, and a core values, of sustainable leadership. I think it's becoming very popular. And we also have to have good idea about good governance and ethics and professional knowledge and interpersonal skills. We also have equity and cultural responsiveness, curriculum and instruction and assessment, community engagement, recruitment and selection of head teachers and principals. You must get the right one. And you also have school leaders, teachers and students and community development. So it's not only the principal, head teachers must be developed, teachers must be developed. I think most countries are doing that. But the aspect of school leaders needs to be more refined in most developing countries. So professional learning community, as I said in my own last presentation last time, as we are doing in IDY. So sorry, and I'm so inspired about this way we are doing to learn. I think it's very important. And professional learning community, I think it should be practiced by most countries. And inspire that Cameroon too will be inspired Nigeria to develop such learning tools, to support the development, leadership development of their leaders. We also have the financial management aspect, which I've already discussed, and the succession planning and the school improvement for the future. So the future relies on the young people, or maybe the learners, or the aspiring head teachers and principal, or the aspiring head teachers. So we should be able to transmit what we have learned to them. So I thank you, moderator, for your excellent introduction. I sincerely thank IDYM for the opportunity to discuss again about leadership development. I thank you, fellow listeners, for listening to my presentation, and I'll hand it over to the moderator. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you. What an insightful and great speaking, and we got so many nuggets in terms of leadership, especially when you said that as leaders, leadership development programs, they help not only to grow their skill sets, but also to help them maybe in an organizations to find new roles within the company. We're talking about on-the-job training. So you gave us leadership development models, the on-job training. Yes, I know on-job training, like some come for attachment. And you talked about in-service training. For example, there are some teachers who were trained long back, and because the world is changing, a leader has to evolve. They have to go through in-service training. We also went through that, especially when COVID-19 struck. Some of us were not good in technology, use of technology. but we had to have that in-service training on how to go on the Google Classroom, like you mentioned, on how to use the Microsoft Teams. So some of those were in-service training. We had workshops, we had seminars. So you took us through all the leadership development models. And then you explained further the leadership learning theories, experimental liberalism, vocationalism. You talked about, and then you talked about the leadership development trend. Yes, we are moving from the traditional way of doing things, from the lecturing methods, the participatory methods. Then you took us through the programs that we need as leaders to grow in an organization. For us to nurture leaders, our leaders, middle leaders, heads of department, they also need to have some skills like ICT management skills. We saw that it helped us, especially in 2020, 2021. We had to prepare lessons, and some of us didn't know how to use PowerPoint presentations, but we had to go through the training of using PowerPoint presentations. Even our children in our classrooms doing their PowerPoint presentations, the use of social media, like we are doing now. We are developing leaders. We are talking about leadership, and you talked about some of the courses that need to be done, like organizational effectiveness, diversity, equity, social justice, then foundation of education, which is very important, especially when we are doing our teacher training here in Zimbabwe. Everyone has to go through foundation of education. They have to do philosophy of education, psychology of education. They have to know the history. Even if you join an organization, you have to know the history of the organization that you are joining. And then the most important thing that you also talked about is managing education change. As good leaders, the more you raise up new leaders, you need to change the lives of members of the team. So we need to be also change agents as leaders in our organizations, because the world is evolving, things are changing. For example, during COVID-19, we know that some of the tools that we're using in education, we couldn't use them. Even when children, even the use of desk itself. So as a leader, you have to change and you have to improve your organization that you are working in. And then you talked about the nurturing middle leadership and deputies. And then there are so many programs that you talked about. And lastly, about the standards, leadership standards. A leader has to have a strong vision. A leader has to have the mission and maybe the core values. Yes, for example, the school that I am in, we have this, like I said, the mission statement. We also have core values. What are we looking at? Yes, we are Lusitania Primary School, but what are we looking at? You have to look at the core values. A good leader has to be more knowledgeable about good governance, curriculum development, recruitment skills, because one way or another, you are going to recruit members of your organization. So you have to know all those are the main pillars in educational leadership and financial management. Thank you so much, Frederick Abbott, for sharing with us. Thank you so much. Okay. Do we still have some more speakers in our? I think Dr. Iman has just left. So I'm just going to round up in terms of leadership development programs. Yes, we talked about those programs, leadership development programs. But for you as a leader, you need to be someone who has got listening and good listening skills, because for you to develop those programs, if you don't listen to others, you have to have an open mind, learn from others as well. And a good leader needs to evolve, because as people change over time, as a leader, you must also evolve. as a leader as well, you need to be involved in decision making, like you heard from our brother talking about decision making in all levels of the department. And as a good leader, you have to be available, you have to be reachable. So as leaders in our organizations, what are the leadership development programs we using in the organizations? Because we are nurturing leaders, like I said, we have people in middle management who also want to go to top management. Yes, you are a teacher. Sometimes one day you will be in head of department. One time you will be deputy head or vice principal. You also go up the ladder to be a principal. So how are we nurturing our leaders in our organizations? What development programs are we using in our organizations? And how long are those development programs being done? And then when you promote people in your organization, do you have any leadership development strategies? So you saw our brother Frederick Abbott was able to enunciate and deliberate on that issue, that you should need leadership development strategies that you can use in your organization. Thank you so much. So as leaders, we need to reproduce other leaders. You need to be a good role model. You need to provide those leadership training. You need to provide leadership resources like you do. You need to create a growth environment in your organization, and a growth environment where you put others ahead of you, where you are in an environment where there are constantly challenges, where there is focus forward, where in growth environment that is affirming, a growth environment that whereby every day you can wake up excited to go to work, and where failure is not feared at all, where others are growing and you're nurturing others, and where growth is modeled and expected. Thank you so much, IDYM, for giving us this opportunity today, where we were sharing about leadership leadership program strategies that we can use as leaders in our organization. I hope we were able to add value to people who are listening, all those across the globe. Thank you so much. And I would like to say good evening to you all. My brother, do you have any remarks that you can end our program with? Anything? Frederick? You are muted. We can't hear you.
Thank you, moderator. You're always wonderful to have you as a moderator. I'm so grateful. This is a topic that I have a lot of passion. At least we've had time to discuss about it. Thanks very much for your contribution. I hope what we have actually provided can help other institutions, organizations, schools, and educational systems to be able to develop their own leadership programs and to support the development, not only the school principals or head teachers, but the teachers and the administrators of the educational system. So thank you, IDYM, for this platform. May you, all of you, be blessed, for this great work. And I'm sure our learning community will only develop as we try to incorporate other different nationals. You see, I think tomorrow on another session, we can hold a debate comparing the leadership programs of different countries. I could have loved to understand what the Indian situation is doing to support development of head teachers and principal, what Zimbabwe have, what South Africa have, what Nigeria have. So those are some of the things we could talk and try to contrast and compare and try to come up with better situations to support the development. So thank you everyone for listening and the opportunity to be able to share our views. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night, everyone. We can't hear you. I think you are muted.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.